This creature has lived in human homes for 10,000 years and never once agreed to it. That's the part most people never think about. Every other animal we domesticated changed to survive alongside us. Dogs became more expressive, cattle became docile, horses adapted their entire temperament, but the cat curled up on your couch right now is, genetically and behaviorally, almost identical to the wild predator that once stalked grain stores in the deserts of the ancient world. It didn't get tamed. It simply moved in. By the end of this video, you'll understand why many scientists no longer consider the house cat a truly domesticated animal at all, and why that single fact changes everything about how we should see the animal sleeping in your home tonight. Most owners assume the relationship works like it does with a dog. Feed it, shelter it, and loyalty follows. Cats don't operate that way. Studies on feline behavior have shown that cats can clearly recognize their owner's voice, yet often choose not to react, the same way they'd ignore any background sound that carries no immediate threat or reward. It isn't that they don't understand you, it's that understanding you doesn't obligate them to respond. That single detail hints at something much bigger, a relationship built on convenience, not submission. To understand why, you have to go back, long before couches and cat food, back to the exact moment a wild predator decided humans might be worth tolerating. Roughly 10,000 years ago, in the Fertile Crescent, early farmers began storing surplus grain. Grain attracted rodents. Rodents attracted a small, solitary desert hunter known today as the African wildcat. This wasn't domestication in the way we usually picture it. No one selectively bred these animals for gentleness the way early humans did with wolves. The wildcats came on their own, drawn by an easy meal, and the humans who noticed them simply let them stay. Genetic studies comparing modern house cats to their wild ancestors have found the two remain close enough to interbreed and produce fertile offspring, a level of genetic overlap almost unheard of after 10,000 years of supposed domestication. That alone is remarkable, but what researchers discovered next was even stranger. Unlike dogs, whose skulls, brains, and behavior transformed dramatically under domestication, the modern house cat's body is barely different from the wild cat's. Studies on the domestication process have found cats show far fewer of the physical and neurological shifts typically associated with tame animals. In other words, we didn't tame the cat. The cat simply adjusted its address. Look closely at its body, and you're not looking at a companion animal. You're looking at a scaled-down apex predator built with almost nothing wasted. The eyes come first, positioned for precise binocular vision, capable of judging distance with lethal accuracy, and lined with a reflective layer called the tapetum lucidum that lets a cat see clearly in light 6 times dimmer than what a human eye needs. Then the spine, extraordinarily flexible, built around free-floating collarbones that let a cat slip through gaps barely wider than its own skull. That same flexibility powers the famous mid-air righting reflex, letting a falling cat reorient itself in a fraction of a second, every single time. The claws stay retracted, not out of gentleness, but to preserve their sharpness for the one moment they're actually needed. Even the whiskers are precision instruments, spaced to measure whether a gap ahead is safe to pass through. Domestication is supposed to soften an animal's design. Nothing about this one was ever softened, and that raises the real question this video is built around. If a cat's body, brain, and instincts are still built for the wild, then what exactly are we to them? Not an owner, not quite a stranger either. Something in between, and the deeper scientists have looked into that space, the stranger the answer has become. Watch a house cat play with a crumpled piece of paper, and you're not watching play at all. You're watching a full predatory sequence, compressed into 15 seconds. Stalk, crouch, tail flick, pounce, bite aimed precisely at the neck. Nobody taught it that sequence. It was already wired in, present even in cats that have never hunted a living thing in their lives. Cats are what biologists call obligate carnivores, animals whose bodies simply cannot function properly without nutrients found only in meat. Dogs, by contrast, evolved alongside human agriculture and developed the ability to digest starches efficiently. Cats never made that shift. Their digestive system stayed locked in predator mode, unchanged for thousands of years. Even their voice reflects this split existence. Adult cats rarely meow at each other in the wild. Researchers who study feline vocalization believe the meow evolved specifically as a tool for managing humans. A sound cats discovered gets our attention, so they kept refining it, developing different tones for hunger, for attention, for irritation. Which raises an uncomfortable thought. If the meow was invented for us, what does that say about everything else a cat does around us? But that isn't even the strangest part. In 2007, geneticists sequencing the domestic cat genome expected to find long stretches of DNA reshaped by human selection, the way it happened with dogs, pigs, and cattle. Instead, they found a genome still remarkably close to the wild original, with domestication-related changes clustered in only a few regions tied mainly to docility and fear response. Barely tamed, barely changed. What scientists discovered next reframed the entire relationship. Research published in the journal Current Biology proposed that cats exist in a kind of domestication limbo, tame enough to live beside us, wild enough to walk away from that arrangement the instant it stops benefiting them. Feral cat populations prove this constantly. Take a house cat, remove human contact, and within a single generation it reverts to a fully self-sufficient hunter. No relearning required. The wild instinct was never gone. It was only dormant, waiting. The deeper researchers looked, the stranger it became. For most of history, humans have struggled to decide what cats actually are. In ancient Egypt, cats were elevated to near-divine status, linked to the goddess Bastet. Killing one, even by accident, could carry the death penalty. Egyptian households mummified their cats alongside family members, a level of reverence almost no other animal received. Centuries later, that same species was violently vilified across medieval Europe. Cats became associated with witchcraft and bad omens, leading to mass killings that some historians believe may have unintentionally worsened outbreaks of plague, since the rodents cats would have hunted were left to multiply unchecked. Worshipped in one era, feared in the next, beloved unconditionally today. Through all of it, the cat itself never changed its behavior to earn any of those reactions. Humans changed their minds about cats. Cats simply kept doing what cats do, hunting, observing, tolerating us when it suited them. That inconsistency says far more about human psychology than it ever did about feline nature. For decades, scientists assumed cats were largely indifferent to affection, unlike the emotionally expressive dog. Recent research has challenged that completely. A study from Oregon State University found that most cats tested preferred human social interaction over food, toys, or scent-based stimulation, once researchers controlled for how that interaction was offered. The finding surprised even the scientists running it. So cats may care more than their reputation suggests. But here's where it gets complicated. Other studies on feline attachment have found that cats don't display the same separation-related distress commonly seen in dogs, suggesting their bond with humans, while genuine, runs on fundamentally different psychological wiring. They may love us, they may need us for food, shelter, and safety, but they don't need us the way a dog does. And that difference, subtle as it sounds, changes everything about what belonging actually means when it comes to a cat. This is where the story becomes genuinely hard to accept for most cat owners. A cat's affection isn't dependence. It's closer to a wild animal's calculated decision to keep something around, because, for now, it works. For all their independence, cats face serious threats of their own, many caused directly by their closeness to us. Outdoor cats are exposed to vehicle strikes, disease, and territorial conflict with wildlife, other cats, and larger predators. At the same time, free-roaming cats have become one of the most significant human-introduced threats to bird and small mammal populations worldwide, particularly on islands where native species evolved without any comparable hunter to defend against. It's a strange paradox. The very instincts that made cats extraordinary survivors for millions of years are the same instincts that make them a serious ecological disruptor when their numbers go unmanaged. Conservationists have had to walk a difficult line, protecting the welfare of cats while addressing the very real damage unmanaged colonies can cause to fragile ecosystems. There is no simple villain in this story, just an animal doing exactly what it evolved to do, in a world that has changed faster than its instincts ever could. Climate shifts complicate things further. Rising temperatures and habitat disruption alter the rodent and bird populations that both wild and domestic cats rely on, often pushing feral colonies into closer, more dangerous contact with expanding human development. Urban sprawl shrinks the quiet, sheltered spaces feral cats depend on, forcing them into busier streets, tighter competition, and shorter lifespans. Disease adds another layer of risk. Outdoor cats are far more likely to contract and spread illnesses like feline leukemia and rabies, both to each other and, in rare cases, to humans. Veterinarians studying colony health have found that unmanaged populations often suffer far higher mortality rates than owned cats, not because the animals are less capable, but because the world around them has become less forgiving. Even something as simple as extreme heat has become a growing concern. As summers intensify across many regions, feral cats, lacking consistent access to shade and water, face heightened risk of dehydration and heat stroke, conditions their wild ancestors rarely had to contend with in the same way. The predator, it turns out, is not untouchable. This is exactly why understanding what a cat truly is, not fully wild, not fully tame, something genuinely caught between both worlds, matters more than it might seem. It isn't just an interesting scientific curiosity. It shapes real decisions that affect millions of animals. It changes how veterinarians interpret feline stress and behavior, recognizing that a cat's aloofness often isn't coldness, it's a wild nervous system responding to a domestic environment it was never fully built for. It changes how conservation groups design humane population control programs, using trap-neuter-return methods that respect a cat's independence while still protecting the ecosystems around it. And it changes how millions of owners understand the animal curled up beside them every single night. Because the truth isn't that cats are ungrateful, or cold, or incapable of connection. The truth is far more interesting than that. Cats never fully surrendered the instincts that made them successful hunters for millions of years before humans ever existed. Living with a cat means living, in a very real and daily sense, with a compromise, a wild animal that has chosen, for now, to let you stay close. That word matters. Chosen. A dog was shaped by us, generation after generation, until dependence became part of its biology. A cat was never reshaped that way. It walked into our world on its own terms, kept its wild body, its wild instincts, its wild capacity to walk away, and stayed anyway. Scientists still don't fully agree on why. Some believe it comes down to simple resource logic, shelter, food, and safety were worth the trade-off of tolerating us. Others suspect something closer to genuine social bonding, pointing to the way many cats seek out human contact even when food isn't involved. The honest answer is that no one knows for certain. It remains one of biology's more compelling unanswered questions. What we do know is this: every time a cat chooses to sit near you instead of retreating to a quiet corner of the house, it is making a decision, not out of obligation, not out of dependency wired into its DNA over thousands of years of selective breeding, but because, in that moment, something about being near you outweighs the pull of every wild instinct still humming underneath its fur. So, do cats truly belong to us? The evidence says no. Not in the way dogs do. Not in the way domesticated animals typically do. A cat's affection is real, but it is offered, not owed. Its presence in your home is a choice it keeps making, day after day, not a debt it's quietly repaying. And maybe that's exactly why we love them the way we do. Not because they need us, but because, against every instinct built into them across millions of years of survival, they occasionally choose to stay anyway. Somewhere behind those calm, half-closed eyes is a hunter that never forgot what it was, and beside you, on your own couch, it has decided, for now, that this is where it wants to be. Has this changed the way you see your own cat? Let me know in the comments.